Hello everyone, and welcome to my first ever collaboration video. I'm sure you've already seen Cordless's version, or his half of this build already, and mine is like, what, 3 weeks late at this point, but yeah, I came up with the idea to build at Dalton Farm, and he wanted me to do the building and he'd do the decorating. So that's what we did, and I think it turned out pretty cool. Unfortunately, I built the whole thing and then realized I never actually recorded building it, so I had to go back and deconstruct each building and rebuild it. So they won't look exactly like they do in the final version because I had to do it on the spot, but you know, this will give you at least some kind of idea how I built things, so let's just go ahead and take a look at everything. Okay, so the first structure I wanted to start with was the smallest one. This is going to be just a really small single person, maybe a single family home that's built on top of a tiny shipping crate. I guess it's kind of like a quarter on top of a tiny shipping crate. I don't know, you get the idea though. The shipping crates I've used many times to build structures on top of, especially in like my Nordhagen beach shack builds. They're some of my favorite things to build on, and just I think they add a lot of character to oceanside, seaside, beach buildings like this. Because in my opinion, you can really, or well, I guess I would say some of the better builds I come across are ones that kind of use pieces and structures that you would logically find in the place that you're building at. So when I use these, I think of them just finding the shipping containers on the beach and thinking, well, we don't want to build on the beach because, you know, ocean levels raise and fall. So let's build on top of the shipping crate, because obviously if it's been here for over 200 years, it's pretty stable. Like it's probably going to be there and be fine. So that's what I went with that. I wanted to make something pretty small and pretty basic, so I tried to change up the floor plan a little bit, do something a little bit different, and have the little balcony on the back actually part of the main structure instead of like added onto it. And as you can see, of course, with always, trying to build this was a total pain because none of the pieces wanted to snap together very well. And unfortunately, that's going to be pretty much how all of these building pieces go. But that's really all there is to say about this little building. But these first two buildings that I did, actually, I went ahead and put the power conduits on and added lights because I didn't realize that whenever I exported the settlement or the blueprint that it either didn't export them, or whenever a cord went in and imported it, it didn't import them or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that's basically it. Alright, now the second structure is technically 2 in 1 that I just connected together, but it is honestly probably my favorite part of this build in its entirety. I wanted to try to use all the different pieces that I either haven't used before or have used but just like using, and I found like a creative way to do it, like this with the rounded metal pieces like that. I've used them a lot. Like, I've done this trick a lot, but it's mainly because I honestly still am proud of myself for figuring it out, and I think adding it to buildings like this makes it look really cool. Now these pieces are from Woody's Wasteland Stuff, and I both myself got a lot of questions about this whenever Cord's video came out, and I also saw a lot of comments on his video about it. I found this mod like right before I started building this, and because I just like went through the Nexus and just looking for building mods basically, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't found it before, that no one had really used it that I'd seen, because it adds so many like really cool pieces. Like that whole other building to the left is pretty much almost entirely made out of pieces from it, at least structure wise. It just adds a lot of really cool items. And so yeah, it unfortunately is only for PC. There's no Xbox version of, I mean, pretty obviously no PS4 version, but yeah. The one thing I didn't like about that little small metal piece right there was that it didn't have, like, there's no real end caps with windows. So I thought that adding that door piece and then putting railing on it would kind of make it look and act like a window. At least that's what I was going for. And I believe this is another one of the buildings that in the final version it looks a little bit different from this, but Like I said, I could only really do what I could at the time. I also had the worst time getting things to snap, which I don't know which mod it is that does that, but I don't know. I just kind of have to go with it pretty much and try my best to get it to fit in, and it kind of does. It kind of works out, which I'm pretty proud of with myself. One of the things I like about doing buildings like this is that I can really incorporate a lot of different pieces pretty easily. Like this one, for example, I really wanted to use multiple different types of buildings and pieces from different mods, so that's why I used the vanilla metal, round room like that one, and then Woody's Wasteland, and then also thematic and practical, because they've all got a really different look and feel to them, but putting them together can really add a lot of uniqueness, I guess I would say, to your builds, which is why I want to do that. And also, as you can see, I forgot to put on the shack, the oh my god, railings and the stairs right over there and on the other side. So when I saw the actual video, I didn't have them, and it was shocking to me. Okay, it is time for the water wheel. Now I know, now that the video's been out, the Cord made for a while, that people do not like this water wheel. And I get it. I mean, yes, is it immersive? Not really. Mainly because if you put a water wheel on the ocean like that, it's not going to work. It's just going to like move back and forth a little bit. Also, people are saying it's going the wrong way. Technically, there's no right way to do it because it wouldn't work. I know this. I knew that when I made it. The point that I was trying to make was that it's on the water, and that would be like a great way to get electricity, would be to use water power. So would it work? No. Did I think it looked cool? Yes. Do I still think it looks cool? Yes. And that's why I made it. So I'm very sorry to everyone who is like hardcore on their, realism and stuff. I messed that one up. I apologize. But you gotta admit, a water wheel, it's pretty cool. And I have to also admit that Woody from Woody's Wasteland Stuff, which is what that water wheel is from, and did an amazing job of doing it because it looks so cool. But anyway, as you can probably tell, the look of this build is different from the other two, and that's because I did these today when I'm recording this, and the other two I did weeks ago, because I had a lot of really, really cool ideas for this build and this video in general, but I've worked on this forever, and none of the ideas I had were working out correctly, and it got really frustrating. So that's why it's kind of basic how I did it. I understand, but it's also why it took me forever. But yeah, the water wheel, this powerhouse, I started off making it like really basic and really simple, and I didn't like it because so many people have done builds that are so simple like this, where you just add like some walls and a roof, and that's about it. I've done that too, like a lot, so I'm not trying to call anybody out on that. But I wanted to make it at least somewhat more unique, so that's why I have the stairs going to the outside, which is a little odd. And then instead of using like a plain flooring, I used that bridge right there to go to the other side, which I would have probably assumed would be used for like storage or whatever, but it's really whatever. It's up to interpretation, I guess. I don't even remember what Cord did in the decoration part of it, so... Okay, and now to the final structure, the main structure. Now, my idea and vision behind this was that this would be a barn that was here before the war, that was like, kind of worn down and broken and everything. And then they built it up afterwards and added on to it, to the right there, that little addition. And it occurred to me, after I'd already sent the blueprint to Cord, that makes no sense because there was a house here beforehand. So, I don't know. I just completely screwed this whole build up. I apologize. But that's still the idea I've had behind it. Maybe, like, they came in and tore down that blasted out house and then added up a barn, and all they had were these, like, broken pieces together, and they just kind of made what they could. You can think of it that way, I guess. and I came at this with the vision that I really wanted to make it look like it was a barn that had things added to it, other pieces. So that's why I'm using these filler boards a lot to make the wood walls match up in height with the barn walls, because otherwise there'd be a huge gap there. And also why I added the wood walls in the first place, just kind of make it look a little bit more unique and interesting, I guess. And in this build right here that I'm doing, I don't go through and add the details in the wall boards and stuff that are in the final version, because I'll be honest, it just kind of took me forever to do, and I didn't want to redo it. But I've kind of learned just from messing around that you can add a lot of detail and stuff to builds like that by just mixing up your pieces like really drastically, kind of like this, and then adding those small details of adding floorboards and wood panels on the walls and stuff to just kind of give it more character, make it look like it was really scrappy and put together. And I know that a lot of people don't like the scrappy look. Like, yes, it's been 200 years. Obviously, they would have figured out how to build a house by now. But I like it. And I think that, especially with Far Harbor, where they don't really have much of a home, I guess, and they're just trying to start rebuilding again, it makes more sense to make it scrappy. And I think that's just a good way to do it. It's just adding in all kinds of unique little twists and things, I guess. Okay, so as you can see here, I am adding in more of the roof pieces, or sorry, the barn pieces up here in the loft area, and I think I added USO, yeah, and it messed up my menu, so it took me a while to figure it out. It took me so long that it started getting dark out. Like, it took me a long time to figure out what I was doing, which pretty much explains everything that I do. It just takes me a long time because I get super distracted. But yeah, I learned a long time ago that trying to make rooms with the roof pieces from the barns like this is really hard to do. I was going to add on like a doorway there and make it a separate room, but I just kind of gave up and was like, forget it. I mean, it'd be weird to have that small of a room right there. So I didn't. And then now after I fix the timing and go back, we can see that it is like I'm moving on to, I'm moving on to the side part, which in my vision would have been where I would have put like the master bedroom. I don't really know why. That's just kind of what I thought of. I also thought of it could be a kitchen. Once again, I don't remember what Cord did with it, but I had just a couple ideas for it. So it's kind of what I tried to do when I built it. It was kind of make it around those sorts of things. But it's it's a survivor's house. It's a farmer's house. It could be anything really. But that's pretty much it. It's just an addition to the house. The house is built in an old barn, and that's basically it. So yeah, I will see you in a second with the pictures. Alright, so there you have it. That is how I built up the Dalton Farm collab that I did with Cordless. It took me a long time to figure out how I wanted to make the farm. I've never liked this settlement, honestly. I've always hated it. It just seemed really hard to build at. So I came into with this trying to figure out like, okay, what have I done in the past didn't work, and what could I do that does work? So that's why I came up with this kind of like quote-unquote farming community, and built the main structure, and then also the water wheel for power, and then these other two structures where people who are helping on the farm would live. But yeah, so Cordless did the decoration for this and finished it up and made it look beautiful. The link to that will be in the description. If you haven't seen it already, I'm sure you have, but if not, please go check that out. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, thanks so much for checking out my video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Here's another video that YouTube thinks you might like of mine, so if you have time, check it out. Or if you don't, that's totally up to you. No pressure. As always, just have a good one and stay safe out there, alright? I hope I see you around next time. You have a good one. Later! Oh my god, this was a travesty.